Hey, welcome back to the Engineer Channel. Today we're working on the Can-Am Spyder. I'm selling my beloved Can-Am Spyder, and wouldn't you know it, the day that I want to sell it, flat tire. You want to know how to fix a flat tire on a Can-Am Spyder? Come on back and I'll show you. Keep in mind, this is not a job for the weak-hearted. This took me about 2 hours to do, and I'm pretty mechanically competent. So this is not a super easy job. It's not super hard, but getting everything to line up, you've got to change your belt tensioners to be able to get your axle shaft back through there. It is a little bit challenging, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So here we go. Okay, so I'm shooting this part of the video after I've actually done the repair, so I'm going to tell you what to look for. I took this off. I removed the rear fender just so I could see everything easily. Did I need to do that? Probably not. I took the wheel completely off without removing the brake caliper. That was pretty easy. Putting it back on without removing the brake caliper, pretty challenging. Okay, so just take note. Coming off, it's okay, but putting it back on, you need to take those two screws off that hold the backing plate to the caliper to get it all back on there. It's just too fiddly. But other than that, everything should be good for you. Okay, the first thing we're going to do while the bike is still on the ground is take off these axle covers. Okay, there's one on each side. There's one on the driver's side and the passenger side, if you will. You just got to wiggle them a little bit, and then they should come off pretty easily. There we go. Okay. Next, before you jack the bike up, take this cotter pin out and loosen the axle nut. So in my toolbox, I miraculously have a 36mm socket. You'll need a couple of extensions to get out past the exhaust. I'm just going to loosen that nut up. So what I'm going to try and do is take off these 4 screws, remove this rear fender, and see if we can't pull the back tire out without removing the caliper, the brake caliper. You will need a 10mm backup wrench because someone didn't do good design work to get these fender nuts out. Okay, with a wooden block, don't do this with anything metal. I'm going to put this against the end of the axle shaft and tap it just to kind of get it started to move, okay? I'm going to put that on the end of the axle. There you go. Okay. Next thing you got to do is you got to take the belt off. We're just going to pull the tire forward a little bit and just slide the belt off. So if we wiggle it around just a little bit, the whole caliper assembly will come off with the wheel, and then you can just kind of take the wheel loose from the caliper and then slide the whole thing out, and you got it. The next thing I need to do before I take this to my friendly tire shop to get it fixed is go ahead and pull off this disc, this caliper here, or this brake disc, and notice the ABS ring here on the bottom. But we'll take these 4 or 5 bolts here off, pull this assembly, and then we can pull the sprocket off the other side, and then we'll have a wheel that the tire shop can deal with. Just remove these little rubber isolators out of here. There's only one way they can go on there, so you can't hardly get that mixed up. And now we got us a broken down wheel ready to go to the tire shop and get the flat fixed. Let's see if we can find out where we picked up a nail here. Ah, there's the culprit right there. So additional thing we had to do, we had to pull the spacer off the inside of this wheel in order for it to fit on a tire machine down at the tire shop. So we'll see if we can break it down now.
What's this here go on, if you don't mind me asking? Is it a Can-Am?
Can-Am Spyder. Very good, very good. There you go. Know what you're doing there. Okay, so we got our tire all fixed. We got to put this little spacer back in here and bolt this back in. It does have an aluminum spacer, so the easiest thing to do is just to stand this up and then drop this spacer down on top of it. And then once you have that in place, I'm hanging off the tailgate so I can actually come from the underside and put these nuts back in, and the bolts go through and the nuts go on the back side here. So we're gonna put those back together and then we'll throw this back in the bike. Okay, so now what we gotta do is reverse the steps, put it back together. So I'm gonna start by putting the brake rotor back on. And you know you got this right. The tire has rotation arrows on it going this way. This is marked rotation that way. So make sure you get that back in the same place. Put it back together. Be sure you tighten these just like the wheels on the nuts on your car in a diagonal, a crisscross pattern there when you're torquing this down. Reinstall your axle spacer, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Put our rubber isolators back in. Again, they can only go one way. And put our pulley back on. You spin your pulley around, it will line up with the spokes in your wheel. And finally, I got one more spacer on the opposite side of the wheel. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this back over with the disc side up, and then I'm going to reinstall that caliper while it's laying flat, just like how it fell out of the bike, and then stand it back up and put it back in place. Okay, so this, I don't know, I can't get this back on there without taking this loose. So I took these two screws out, these two bolts here, out of this backing plate, this brake caliper backing plate. So they're 13 millimeter, drop those two down, and then you can put the caliper back on once you get it. We got our axle shaft knocked back through, so now just need to reattach the brake caliper. put the nuts on, put my rear fender on, and we're done. So here we go. Hey, thanks for watching the Engineered channel. I hope this helps you figure out how to change the back tire on your Can-Am. We did this at a regular tire shop. We didn't have to take it to a motorcycle shop, but I did have to take the wheel completely apart for it to fit on the tire machine where it would work. So keep that in mind. But other than that, anybody can do that repair for you. The challenge is just the labor putting the tire back on. So getting it off's not too hard. Putting it back on is a little bit challenging, a little tiresome. So have you a good jack, and get all your tools together, and I hope this helps. See you next time.